so we're officially done with the year. We have nothing new to learn. We're gonna we only have 8 days left, but as some of you may or may not know, the last day of school, you're gonna have some fun things planned for you, and you may or may not be missing my class. It's kind of hard to tell. I'd have to look at all your individual schedules, but I'll pull up that at the end of class to see what you're doing on the last day of school. So we really only have about 7 days left to review the whole year. So obviously we're not getting to every single thing we learned. We're going to continue with practicing the regions. In fact, you have some homework tonight. I know it's Friday, which means you get 3 whole days to do your homework instead of just one night. I know it's the weekend, guys. I'm only giving you 15 questions. It's not hugely difficult. Hopefully you can get that done in your 3 days you have off in about 15 minutes. I also recommend, since you have regions coming up, you should start studying. And I know a bunch of people, my own kids included, like my own actual flesh and blood, say they don't know how to study. I also did not know how to study when I was in high school. So I'm going to give you some hints on how to study. One way of studying is practicing. So one thing you should do is practice old regions. You should practice old test questions, old homework questions. That's one way. Now this packet that I just handed out, yes, it looks thick, but what this is basically all 9+ packets we've had all year condensed into the need to know facts for each chapter. So it starts off, if you look at page 1, it says Earth Science Need to Know Facts. I think there are 101, but I'm not positive on the exact number of things you just got to know. So if you know nothing else, if you study nothing else, commit these facts to memory. They're simple facts as no matter what, the same substance will always have the same density, meaning if you cut it into 1,000,000 pieces or you have one giant statue of gold, it's gold, it'll always have the same density. So there's just facts on here that you just got to know. So between these facts and knowing how to use your reference table, you'll be fine on the regions. Then what else you'll notice is, so like here's chapter 1. There's a page worth of things about chapter 1. We had a packet, probably 20-ish pages long. Here, I condensed it into 1 page. So these are basically your entire Earth Science notes condensed into 1-ish pages. Everything that I absolutely know you need to know from that chapter condensed into 1 page. This is a good place to start. Start quizzing yourself. Start maybe asking somebody else to quiz you. That will definitely help you. So you have this. If you choose to use it, that's up to you, but this is definitely a good study guide here. Another thing we're going to be doing are these quick review sheets like I just asked you to do. So I asked you to review high and low pressures. This was not that long ago. So hopefully it's a little fresh in your brain. Do you remember the saying I asked you to remember about high pressure? My 8th grade science teacher told it to me. Starts with high. If you can remember high, high stands for high pressure. Dry, cool, and clear. That's about half of what you need to know for a high pressure system. So if you can remember high, dry, cool, and clear, you will know that high pressure has dry weather, cooler temperatures, and clear, which means no clouds. So hey, take a look out the window. Do we have high pressure right now? There are a few clouds, but if you only had a choice of cloudy or not cloudy right now, what would you say out there? Clear. Yeah, it's mostly clear. It is getting a little cloudier, or maybe it's still a little cloudy from overnight. It's hard to say exactly, but we are definitely dry. It's not raining. It's not humid. It is fairly cool. Now, cool doesn't have to mean cold. We're not talking about winter. We're just talking about colder than it could be. And then clear means no clouds. Now, we're also talking about wind direction that I need you to know with high pressure. Do you remember which way the wind blows for high pressure? Clockwise. So remember, the clock is high on the wall, the counter is low. So the clock, or the high pressure, because the clock is high, the high pressure goes clockwise. Trent also said it goes out. Just like you learned last year with living environment, substances always go from high concentration to low concentration. Same is true here. So it goes out of the high into the low. Or if you remember my analogy, farts always go out of your butt. They don't go in. So high pressure farts go out. There's also one more. Does high pressure air go up or down? Put high pressure on your table, please. Which way are your arms going? Down. So if you don't remember, ask yourself, well, if I was to put high pressure on something, that means I'm pushing down. Same is true with air. Air goes down, creating pressure. Now, I said this when we learned about it, that I know nothing about low pressure. I seriously know not one thing about low pressure. Okay, you're right. I do know counterclockwise because I have the analogy. You're right. You're right. I am wrong. I do know one thing about low pressure off the top of my head, but I don't tend to think about low pressure. I just know low pressure is opposite of everything high pressure. And I would recommend you doing the same thing. It's only half the amount of stuff to memorize. So high pressure is high, dry, cool, clear. What's low pressure? Okay, so the opposite of dry is wet. Opposite of cool is warm. What's the opposite of clear? Cloudy. Opposite of clockwise should be counterclockwise, or like Sam mentioned, the counter is low. So the counter or low pressure goes counterclockwise. And again, the opposite of down is up. That is what I wanted you to know about high and low pressure. Hopefully you can commit those to memory. Those are on here, on the facts that you need to know. Everything is right here. So it is considered a fact you need to know about earth science. Any questions on high or low pressure? All right, hopefully you were able to get through this one. Now, one thing that, if you see me adding these last two right now, up here, these all need labels up here. So make sure you know the temperature was 46 degrees Fahrenheit, right there. Visibility right there is 1/4 of a mile. Notice I did not abbreviate mile. That's because sometimes I forget how to abbreviate it, so I just spell it out. How do you abbreviate miles, by the way? MI. If you don't know for sure how to abbreviate a unit, don't write the whole word then. Because if you abbreviated it wrong and like wrote M, that means meters. I would have to mark you wrong. The wind is coming from the northeast. So never eat soggy worms. This is in this corner, so that's the northeast. Did you guys unabbreviate that correctly? So the number was 096. How do I know how to change that back to the normal number? Yes. 0 to 4 gets a 10. 5 to 9 gets a 9. Yep. And in case you don't remember that, there's a couple tricks. One trick here is on this key. This example started with a 9, and when they unabbreviated it, they put the, I'm sorry, where did I say 9 from? This example has a 1, and when they unabbreviated it, they put a 10. So that should be your reminder that the low numbers get a 10. The other trick is your answer. So the 1009.6, if you find it on this scale over here, 1009 would be right there on here. So if you did it correctly, it'll be on the scale. Let me show you what I mean if you did it wrong. So the number was this. right? That was the number 096. Yep. If I did it wrong and put a 9 out front, that number, so 109, isn't even on the scale. The scale only goes down to, that's 8765, goes down to 965. So if you do it wrong, your number will not show up on the scale, which means it doesn't exist on Earth. So you definitely did it wrong. There's a couple ways to check your work. All right, and then moving on, the rain or the precipitation is right here. That's 1.5 inches. Dew point, 45 degrees Celsius. Wind speed, remember each full feather is 10, so that's 10, 20, and then a half a feather is 5. So that's where I got 25 knots. It's 75% cloudy because it's 75% filled in. Now, one thing, this barometric tendency, the negative tells you it's falling, so I just put a down arrow. And they do a stupid abbreviation here. The stupid abbreviation is they put a decimal between the 2 digits. There is not 2 digits written here. It's only -6. How would you write -6 in 2 digits? I mean, would you write it? Which one of those is 6? The bottom one is 6. That's 60. So -6 is really -0.6, which means you put a decimal between the 2, and that is that number when you abbreviate it. And then the current weather is rain. And here is how you would have drawn the last one. Walking around, I saw a few of you with your stick for this, a little bit more up here. My guess is you were trying to go around your numbers you had already written. Don't do that. They do have to go right through. If you want west, it needs to be straight old west. So if you cover up your words like I did here, it's okay. I know what I'm looking for if I'm grading it. So I'll be able to tell. So don't go around your numbers. Check your work. Is this what you had?
I just went around.
Yeah, and I knew that's what you guys were doing when I saw your line being slightly up. Just make sure you go straight west if it wants west. What do you notice is not on any of these numbers? Units. If you had even as simply as put a little circle up there by the 71, I would have had to mark it wrong. So there are no labels on any of these. Questions on any of this? You sure? Like you can do the weather stuff? I think it is. That I did try to keep some easy stuff to start with today. All right, I handed back your test. First of all, does anybody want a correction paper?
Right.
And I think I'm gonna feel a little bit generous this last test. If you just want to earn 10 points, like you don't want to get more than 10, just do this paper. You don't have to retake the test. Okay, so did everybody hear me? If you just want 10 extra points, just do the correction paper. You don't have to retake it. If you want to go ahead and try for that 100 and you need to actually try, then yes, you'll have to retake the test. But, so if you just want 10 points, just do the paperwork. All right, let's start. I'll give you the right answers. And then we can go over any you have questions on. If I can find my, it's like I cannot keep track of anything these days. No, that's. Hey, that's not it. There it is. All right. First, question number 1, it was worth 2 points, 1 for A and 1 for B. The first question said, state the month. Unfortunately, for those of you who wrote summer, summer's not a month, and I couldn't accept it, which stinks because you're right, it is the summer season, which is part of, I'm glad you knew that, but when the Regents asks name the month, I need a name of one of those 12 months. The real answer should have been June, I did accept July because it did not say, wait, let me just. Nope, it didn't say it was the first day of any season. It did just say name the month. It would also look like this in July. Now, the next one said state the latitude. The latitude is officially 23.5 degrees north. Unfortunately, if you did not put the north, I had to mark it wrong, which again stinks. I knew you knew what you meant, or I knew what you meant, but if you don't write it, I can't grade it. I am not sure if they would have taken Tropic of Cancer, because it didn't specifically say state the like number, so it should be okay. Yeah, but just make sure you do that. Now this one. Oh, this one. This one gets people every year, and every year I contemplate, maybe I'll be nice and not put this question on the test. But then I think, well, the Regents isn't nice, so why should I be? You guys gotta not fall for their trick. This question says, the model below represents the Earth in its orbit 6 months later. So this was June 21st. 6 months later is December 21st. So where should the North Pole be leaning towards? December 21st. Away from the sun. But hey, where's the sun? Over here. Where was the sun up here? On the left. Guys, they were big old jerk faces.
Yeah.
Did you fall for it? Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people just go, oh, okay, it's tilting this way in this picture. It must tilt this way in this picture, which would make sense if they weren't jerks. But they were jerks, and they moved which side the sun was on for this picture. So 6 months later, will be tilted away. So this would be the North Pole. This would be the South Pole. They didn't have to label the South Pole. It would look just like that. That would have been questions A, or steps A and B. What I did is if you did that correct, you got 1 point. If you did that wrong, you lost 1 point. Do a drawing. Then for C, it says to draw the equator. I made that work 1 more point. Guys, how is the equator oriented if this is the way the axis is going? What up?
Are you supposed to do number 2 on the?
Just draw it for me. So notice, guys, that the equator, and actually all the lines of latitude, they make a 90-degree angle with the axis of rotation. So you did need to draw this at a 90-degree angle, and it did tell you to label. So if you didn't label, I can't give you credit because they told you to label it. So that was worth 2 separate points. If you drew your equator correctly for your wrong drawing, so like your first part was wrong, but you drew your equator right according to your drawing, I gave you a point there. So this is the real right answer. If you're not sure how I took points off for that one, and you have a question, let me know. And then finally, question 3 was asking about up here. So talking about letter A and B, and it wants to know, it says, describe the length of day at point A compared to the length of time, daylight at point B, represented by the diagram. First of all, there is no A and B here. There is an A and B up here, so you were looking at this diagram. Guys, when a question just says compare, it's just like when I ask you, how old am I compared to you? Do you need to know my exact age? Do I need to know your exact age? When they ask, so you just didn't answer that question. Like I didn't ask, how old is Trenton compared to Sam? Because then you might need to know. I asked about me and you guys. You know I'm older. My point is, those of you who put numbers on this, you're going above and beyond. And the problem in earth science about going above and beyond and giving me more information is if your extra information is wrong, I have to mark the question wrong, even if you got the question they were asking about right. And what I'm getting at is a lot of you were trying to tell me that A gets 15 hours of daylight. I never actually told you how many hours of daylight they get at the Tropic of Cancer. We get 15 hours of daylight on the first day of summer. They actually don't get 15 hours. A lot of you were telling me B was gonna get 9 hours of daylight. That's how much we get on our first day of winter. That's not how much 23.5 degrees south gets. So the answer was simply A gets more. And so please be careful with that. That A gets more hours of daylight than B. Don't give me more information. So be careful when you answer those. All right, sorry, moving on. I'm gonna go a little faster, then we can go over any you want me to go over. Are you ready for question 4? 4 is A. 5 is B. 6 is A. 7 is C. 8 is A. 9 A. 10 C. 11 D. 12 C. On to question 13. Oh, great. Question 13 is B. 14. A. 15 B. 16 D. 17 B. $18 D. 19 A. 20 C. 21 D. 22 D. Don't forget to do your homework. 23 A. 24 C. Hang on one second. 25 A. 26 D. Couple things. Did I grade yours right? Did I add up your number wrong correctly? 21 is D. Which one did you want to go over one?
I just have a question about 20. How are we supposed to find that?
Yep, let me look. 20. You were supposed to, that's why I gave you a ruler and a calculator. I see. Sorry. Yeah, I did give you a ruler and a calculator yesterday during the test, and you were supposed to calculate the eccentricity. For the record, on the actual regents, so when you sit down on June 20th, you will not have a ruler, so there will be no measuring. That doesn't mean they won't give you one of these, they would just tell you the measurements then. But remember, lab practical, that I might give you a ruler for, so that is fair game for the lab practical. Yeah, so you just guessed?
I did.
Yeah. Which one did you pick?
I did A.
Why?
It looked pretty circular to me.
Remy, I will give you credit for that because you understood the assignment, even though you understood the concept, even though you didn't understand the assignment. Yeah. All right. Which other one should we go over? So add 4 points to your test. Yep. Seriously, the rest of you got A, so you got 100, you have no questions, you know how to do everything.
That's right.
What is 19A? Why? Just because it's closest to the star. There's the star, so it's going fastest at A, or it has more gravitational attraction because it's closer at location A, which also means that's where it would move the fastest. Give me another one. You guys did all not get hundreds. In fact, none of you did. You almost did, but you couldn't label, so
12.
thank you. 12. The apparent rising and setting of the sun is viewed from Earth is caused by, so the fact that the sun rises and then sets is because right now I can't see you, but when I start to turn, now I can see you a little bit. Now you're straight in front of me. Now you're starting to disappear again. It's because the Earth rotates. Rising and setting is rotation. Seasons is revolution. Yeah, give me another one, Remy.
What's a Jovian plan?
Yeah, that, I got a lot of questions on that. It was one random notes that we took a few weeks ago. Jovian planets are the planets that are like Jupiter. So they are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. They are the gas giants. They have low densities, and they're the 4 furthest away planets. Terrestrial planets are the ones that are Earth-like. So that would be Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. They have high densities, they're made out of rocks, and they're closest to the sun. So that is just a random fact you gotta know. Jovian, because the gravitational attraction is probably too great, I'm guessing. It's a guess though. Other questions? 21. Okay, then let's not.
Yeah, I always believe in.
Okay, so this is, did you have any labels on there? So this is why I love labels. So you did it right today or yesterday in lab, didn't you? We put in X where it belongs to going the fastest. Perfect, and that's the first start. The first thing you need to know, so 21 asked about the speed of the planet. So where is it, if this is the star, which letter is it going the fastest at? A, I label it fastest. So if it's going fastest at A, where is it going the slowest? C, so I label it slowest. Now, if we want to go from A to B to C to D, that's what the question's asking as we go from A to D. You have to follow the way the planet goes. You can't just go from A to D. Can't go backwards. Was that maybe what you did? Yeah. Okay, yeah, you gotta follow the path to get from A to D. A planet can never go backwards in its orbit. So knowing that I gotta go to A to B to C then to D, because A is the fastest and C is the slowest, the speed must be decreasing when we go from the fastest to the slowest. So it's decreasing first. But then once I leave the slowest and start heading over to the fastest, this is when it would be increasing. So going from A to B to C to D, it first decreases, then increases again. And this is my answer key. And I even added like the next step, farther away and closer. So I highly recommend labeling. Any more? Okay, clearly we did not get to going over the multiple choice. So 35 through 51, if anybody did not do those, you can still do those for credit. But yes, you have homework. Your homework is questions 51 through 65, which, by the way, this is where your answer sheet starts to come in. They have answer blanks for everything, where it's harder to skip questions on the Regents than it is on mine, because you actually have blanks to put all your answers on. So if you do not, you can't even answer this one because there is no map in the actual test. Here's the only place there's a map. So does everybody have a copy of the answer page? Okay, so 15 questions. It probably will take you 15 to 20-ish minutes.
I'll do it.
Put it in,
Monday.
put your name on it in there for now. All right, guys, thank you. Have a good weekend.